Welcome to this week's moonLight of Emuna. This week's learning should be a chus for Refuah Shlema, for Shlomas Tchava Bas Shifra, Nusam Feitel ben Yehudis, Yehud Menachem ben Rechon Paramal Kalea, Shmuel Sheizam V'Chevechav Menachem Mordechai ben Afira, and Lil Nishmas, Charnamash Bas Menachem Mendel, Ratza Bas Menachem Mendel, and Henya Bas Echil Mechel. So I want to try to touch on two things in this week's parsha. These parshas and parshas Devarim have so many mitzvahs and so many different ideas. Parsha Shoftim, if I remember correctly, has the sixth highest number of mitzvahs of any single parsha. I think 42 mitzvahs in the parsha. But let's talk a beautiful idea from the Kedushas Levi right at the beginning. It says in the pasuk, Shoftim v'shoitrim titein lecha, judges and officers you shall appoint, b'chol sharech in all your cities, all your gates, asher Hashem lekecha noisen lecha, that Hashem will give you, that Hashem your God gives you. Lishvatecha, for your tribes, v'shaftu es mishpat tzedek, and they shall judge the people with righteous judgment. You should judge them with righteous judgments. So the question here, the way that Kedushas Levi in his holy way says, he says, this week's parsha is the first week of Rosh Chodesh El. I'm recording this on Wednesday. Tomorrow is already Rosh Chodesh El. Friday is the first day of El. We'll start blowing the shofar, and in El we start to think about getting a good judgment. It's the month leading up to Rosh Hashanah. It's the month leading up to the holy day of Rosh Hashanah when we are judged, right? And we want a favorable judgment from Hashem on Rosh Hashanah, right? And so he says that in order to do that, in general, there's this concept, whenever we want something from Shemayim, we want something from above, we have to inspire it from below, right? We have to inspire. It's called, in the words of Kabbalah, it's Israusa de Lasata, the inspiration from below. It awakens the Hashem's Rahmanas above. So how do we do that? So in that case, how do we awaken Hashem's midah of chesed, of kindness? That when we're down here, we want Hashem to look at us kindly, right? We all know our own flaws and our own things that we've done wrong over the year, and yet we want Hashem to judge us kindly. So how do we inspire that? So he says, the way that we do that is, I'll read you a few words of the Kedushas Levi, of the Holy Kedushas Levi. When we conduct ourselves with chesed, when we judge every other person, we judge everybody, we find favor, we judge people favorably. So that same midah, if we judge people favorably down here, we give people the benefit of the doubt. We look for ways to interpret people's actions positively, right? So somebody insults us, somebody does something wrong to us, we give them the benefit of the doubt. It must be he was having a bad day, or he didn't mean to, or maybe I had done something wrong to him, and he has ill will towards me, right? So then we inspire this midah above. And therefore, and then Hashem will also look at us favorably, and will bring chesed on the Jewish people, right? That's his idea. And he sees this in our pasuk at the beginning of the parsha. It says, Shoftim v'shoitrim titnu chol b'chasharecha. You should set up judges and officers in all of your gates, right? Which means that he says, that we ourselves can fix and prepare the judgment of above al yedei sharecha, by our gates. Those are what are those? Who are sharm shalcha. Those are the portals that we make and open up with our actions. Meaning, we set the gates by which we'll be judged. We set the way gates very often in the lashon of the Svarim HaKadoshim are the different ways that we perceive the world. Right? We have 7 gates. Again, not to get Kabbalistic, but we have 7 gates in the head. Right? We have two eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and a mouth. Those are the ways that we take in and project to the world. Those are our gates. And the way we use those to look at other people, we look at other people favorably, then Hashem does the same for us. And that's why the pasuk says, "V'shaftu esam," you'll judge the nation, meaning we will use our gates, our judges and officers that we set up in our gates. V'shaftu esam, and we will judge the people mishpat tzedek, a righteous judgment, which means he says, "L'lamid tzedakah zchus al kol Yisrael," to be charitable when we judge other people. Right? Tzedek is lashon of tzedakah, to be charitable to other people. And if we are charitable in our judgments of other people, and we give people the benefit of the doubt, then Hashem will do the same thing for us, right? Because the way that a person, we know everything is midah keneged midah, and the way that the traits that we exhibit when we judge others is the way that Hashem will exhibit when He judges us. Then, so that's one a big avodah that we can do when it comes to Chodesh El. We have to give people the benefit of the doubt, look favorably at people, avoid machloikis, do those things, then Hashem will judge us favorably. That's one of our biggest jobs in El. Then a little bit later in the parsha, we get to Parak Yud Zayin, starting in Pasuk Yud Dalid. It talks about setting up a king in Klal Yisrael, and interestingly, it gives all kinds of halachas when we set up a king. Yeah, we can have a king, but there are certain restrictions, right? He's not allowed to have too many wives. He's not allowed to have too many horses. He can't amass too much gold and silver for himself. And then the Torah tells us that Pasuk Yud Ches, V'haya kishifte al kisei mamlachta, when he sits on his throne, v'kasav le'es mishta Torah azois, he'll write this Sefer Torah al Sefer l'fnei Kanim Levim. He writes a Sefer Torah. And the question that's asked is that we know in Parshas Vayelech later on in a few weeks we'll have that it says in the pasuk V'ata kisvu lechem es hashira hazois. That's in Parshas Vayelech in Parak Lamed Aleph pasuk Yud Tes, that you have to write this. The Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Chaf Aleph learns that everybody has to write a Sefer Torah. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin they're asked the question that everybody has to have a Sefer Torah. So what's so special about the king? And it says that a king has to have two: the regular one that every Jew has, and a second one that he keeps with him at all times, right? And the Torah goes on to explain in our parsha why he has to have it, right? Why he has to have this Sefer Torah. Pasuk Yates says it'll be v'haya imay v'karak by kol yama kol chachamechayav. He'll have it with him. He'll read it all the days of his life. Why? Laman yilmad liyiras Hashem alekav, so that he'll learn to fear Hashem as God. Lishmar is called divrei Torah, to keep all the Torah as zayis chukim eila lasaisam. And then Pasuk Chav tells us why. Levilti rum levavais. He doesn't become too arrogant me'achiv over his brothers. Levilti surman a mitzvah yamna smile, and that he should be meticulous with mitzvahs, not to veer right or left. Leman yorich yamim al malachtos. He'll have a long life over his kingship. Hu vana b'kerev Yisrael. Him and his children amongst all Klal Yisrael. Right. Now, what's interesting is, and I don't want to take too long on to explain this, but the lashon of our pasuk is it says that it says when it says that he should write a Sefer Torah, it says kishiftoy with a chaf. Now, there's a medrash in Megillah, in Esther Rabbah, that says on the pasuk there it says kisheves hamelech. It's talking about Achashverosh. So Amar Rabbi Yitzchak umas ha'olam ein lo yeshiva, that non-Jewish monarchies don't have yeshiva. They're temporary, right? So the Gemara says, the Medrash says that by a Jewish king, and it brings a pasuk from Shoftim in Nach, that by a Jewish king it says bishivtai, right? That's more permanent. It's permanent. So the Medrash, you can look at that Medrash. It's Esther Rabbah, I think at the beginning, Parak Aleph. It's maybe, I don't remember exactly. It's the beginning of Parak Aleph and Esther Rabbah there. It says that by a Jewish king it uses bishivtai, by a non-Jewish king it uses kishivtai. That's the difference of temporary versus permanent. The problem is that in our pasuk, when it says that he should write a Sefer Torah, it says kishivtai. That's the temporary. That's a temporary lesson. So the Chedushi Arim says that you're right. That normally we talk about a Jewish king, we use the beis bishifta is more permanent. But here specifically, the Torah uses ki. Why? Because the chaf, which is temporary, is talking about when a king first becomes king. Well, the first thing he does when he becomes king is he writes this Sefer Torah. Nothing has been permanent yet. This is how he transitions into permanent, meaning, when he first ascends to the throne, we know this, you see this by every president, every politician. When they first come to power, they have all kinds of plans. They have all kinds of things of how they're going to change change the country, be good for the people, right? All kinds of plans, right? We recently, a year and a half ago, we had a new president, a new administration with all kinds of plans, and then not everything works out. Over time, things go in, with the passage of time, things go into same old. People become frustrated, tired, jaded, and then they just do more of the same thing. Permanence breeds a staleness, routine, taking things for granted, a boredom. So the challenge for a king, we don't want that in a Jewish king. The challenge for a king for a new king is that he has to start it off in a way that he'll be able to maintain that freshness and enthusiasm that he had in the beginning. Therefore, the Torah tells the new king, all those beautiful plans you have, all those amazing things that you have in the beginning, kishiftai, before you settled into permanence of bishiftai. But kishiftai, Hishtoi al Kisei Malachtai, when it was new, when it still felt not permanent. I want you. You have to take those with you for the rest of your reign, and that's why it's connected specifically with this command of writing a Sefer Torah. Right? What's the idea of writing the Sefer Torah? If a person wants to keep things fresh, if the king wants to, but it really applies to every single Jew. If you carry around the Torah, which means what? Remembering your true purpose. You as a king, it's not about you having so many wives. That's what the Torah restricts. He can't have too many wives. He can't have too many horses. He cannot have to hold on to too much gold and silver. This is not about you having a rule like most kings in the world do. This is about you, how you serve Hashem. Your purpose in life is to serve Hashem as the king. But the truth is the same is true for every Jew. We have a true purpose of life. To be here, which is to serve Hashem in whichever way, each person with the talents that they have, with the abilities they have, with the circumstances they have. But the only way to keep that freshness, to keep that excitement, to keep that renewal is by keeping the Sefer Torah with us, by carrying the Sefer Torah with us, to remember that my purpose, whether I'm a king or whether I'm the water carrier, is to serve Hashem. It's for Hashem's service and honor. The only way to remember that our whole lives is to carry the Torah with us. And that's why the Torah tells the king, you'll have a second Sefer Torah that you carry with you. When you carry the Torah with you, when you keep focus, when you remember, so even when I'm at work, I'm thinking about Hashem, how am I serving Hashem? Then that idealism stays fresh. You feel like a new king, not a permanent king who's been here forever, right? That's the concept here. And that's what the pasuk says. The purpose of this Sefer Torah is you'll keep it with you and you'll read it all the days of your life, throughout your life, no matter what you're doing. The king's going out to war. He's busy with budgets for the country, but he keeps that Sefer Torah. He remembers what his purpose is. Everything we do in life is to remember, is to learn, and to fear Hashem. Lishmar is called Divrei HaTorah, is to keep all the words of the Torah, and all these laws to keep them. Levilti ram levavai. See, don't become arrogant. Don't think this is about you, me'achiv over your friends. Levilti sormen mitzvah yamin usmal. Don't get caught up in the trappings, right? We all have these little kingdoms in our lives where I made so much money, I did so well, I was very smart, I did, right? But that's not what motivates us. What motivates us is focusing on how we could serve Hashem. The king works for Hashem. He's there to be Hashem's messenger in this world, and every Jew is that in our lives. And all of us have our little kingdoms, whether it's over people we influence, whether it's people who work for us, whether it's our families, right? But the purpose of that is all focused on Avodas Hashem. And if you do that and you keep the Sefer Torah with you and you remember the purpose of everything that Hashem gave you, right? Your kingdom, the money that Hashem gives you, the health that Hashem gives you, the nachas that Hashem gives you. If you remember that it's all to serve and to fear Hashem, so then, and how do you do that? By carrying the Torah with you. So then, Laman Yarech Yom HaMachtai, Hu Vanav B'Kerev Yisrael, and then our kingdom, our monarchy, our reign will last, and it'll be passed on to our children. And that's really the message as we go into Chodesh El. The message is to be kind and favorable to others so that Hashem will treat us that same way. And to remember that everything we do, not to get caught up in the things that distract us, in our money, in our successes, and our other things, but to remember that everything is here for a purpose, and to remind ourselves that we have to live and carry a Sefer Torah with us all the time. To remember that message that we're here to serve Hashem, to be soldiers in Hashem's army, whether it's as a king, whether it's as a lawyer, a doctor, a businessman, a Rabbi, whatever it is, we all have that same purpose. From king to the lowest job in Klal Yisrael is to serve Hashem. And the way we keep that goal in mind and keep it fresh and exciting, kishiftai, not bishiftai, is by remembering to keep the Sefer Torah with us at all times. We don't decide things on our own. We follow the Torah, we live with the Torah, we breathe the Torah. And if we do that, no matter what we're doing, even the most mundane activities, it's all to remember Hashem and to remember that we're doing this because this is what Hashem wants us to do. And with that, we will get through a tremendous Chodesh El. We'll see a tremendous Rosh Hashanah filled with bracha, and Hashem will judge us favorably and say, "Oh, I need to keep these soldiers in my army happy and healthy and wealthy and all, so that they can continue to serve me so well." I wish you all a beautiful, wonderful Shabbos.